Whoops, seems like you guys just caught me in the middle of a shameful act. You know, I have two different pastimes. One of them is stuffing myself with garbage until I feel sick, and the other one is video games. Different pastimes have different preferences. It could be your favorite candy, your favorite console, your favorite game, and even a favorite child. This last week, I've been doing a lot of research on my preference between Mario 64 and the DS version. And by research, I just meant playing a lot of games. Trust me though, playing those games is hard work. I had to make sure I had original hardware and the game for both, so I could play them the way they were meant to be played. And yes, I know this is the All-Stars version, but it's basically the same thing. Cry about it. Before we continue, I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be a little harsh towards both versions of the game. And I know they're old, I know they have their own limits because of the circumstances of the consoles that they're being played on, but I want to be completely honest. I'm just a down-to-earth kind of guy. With that being said, I'm going to use 4 different things to rate these games fairly. Controls, content, visuals, replayability, or CVR for short. Using these guidelines will help me rate both games on a fair manner and help with consistency. Now, with no further ado,
Nintendo 64 versus Nintendo DS.
Number 1. Controls. Are the games I'm playing fun to control, or am I gonna toss down the controller and vomit? Okay, I know what I said about Mario All-Stars, but just to be sure, I did open up an emulator and play Mario 64 through that to make sure that the controls were just fine. Honestly, both were pretty much the same, except All-Stars was just a touch more polished than the original. I'll touch more on it in a little bit. So generally to me, 64's controls felt pretty solid, honestly, all around. The only complaints I really have is that Mario feels kind of slippery, especially when you're trying to run around in circles. He just kind of like stops in place and starts going the other direction when that's not what I told the controller to do. And it can make platforming really hard sometimes. I mean, it's not too bad, honestly, but it's just inconvenient. Also right here, Mario went wall jump. I don't know why. Long jumping is very consistent though, I can usually nail that down. The camera is hot garbage though, I cannot pinpoint where I need to be looking at all when I'm playing the game, makes platforming that much harder. The only difference I could say between the regular and the All-Stars version is Mario's movement is slightly more polished than it was in the original. Also, just to show you what I mean about the controls, this is me trying to get this stupid star where the chain chomp goes and breaks the bars right there. And I could not ground pound the pole for my life. I mean, I know I'm not very good at this game, but still, holy cow, it was very hard to control. Also, this just shows how awful the camera is in this game. You cannot get a good shot of what I was doing at all. Overall, decent controls, even though sometimes it can be a little garbage. Now I think it's time that we look at the other side of the coin to see what the differences are. I grabbed my copy for the DS and tossed it in the console, but the controls, they just felt so sticky. And to all those DS haters out there, no, it was not the actual controls of the game. The contacts on my DS buttons just need to be cleaned, probably. So I had to go and get another DS to test this game out. And, well, that doesn't mean the controls are good. Looking at the DS version, it kind of looks like the controls are a bit more precise, but honestly, this was just on an emulator and I was using my keyboard, and I think that was the reason why it was looking a lot more easier to run in that circle than the original version. On the DS, it does not feel good at all. I was just dragging all over the place, and it was like drifting. It was annoying, and you still do drift a bit even when using the stupid keyboard. I'm using a computer keyboard and it's still drifting. I don't know, I think the thing that cheesed me off the most is that you had to hold a button to run. That's the stupidest part about this game. I don't know why you have to hold a button to run while in the original you could just run on the spot. I don't know. It was annoying. It was another thing to think about when I didn't have to think about anything in the first game. Why would you add something stupid like this? I don't know. You know what? Maybe other people like this, but I did not like it at all. I don't know. The only other thing I can really say about this is that this game was not made for a D-pad. Like, it kind of feels like the original Mario 64, but you should not play that with a D-pad. The 64 is more than deserving for the Better Control award. Number 2. Content. In this section, I'm going to use this handy dandy chalkboard to list the content of each game. For the original Mario 64, you get 15 levels, 120 stars, 5 boss fights, and Yoshi at the end if you 100% the game. Mario 64 DS is a similar song and dance, except you get 30 extra stars and 5 more bosses. So I'd say it's actually pretty similar, not gonna lie. Except for the fact that you get 3 new playable characters, mini games, new character models, and new power-ups. You don't get to see Yoshi at the end as a little cameo though, that sucks. You do, however, get to play as him, along with the other characters Luigi and Wario. The game also features a bunch of new power-ups that you can use to your advantage in the game, some of them being unique to different characters. All of the unique ones come from this power flower that you can find in red question mark boxes. Yoshi gets the ability to breathe fire and ends up burning living creatures to death. Even this innocent Bob-omb. How many war crimes do you think Yoshi has committed on Bob-omb Battlefield? Let me know in the comments. Luigi's power-up makes him go transparent, and that way he can run through some walls of the game. Wario is just straight up metal and he's invincible, and he can also walk under the water. Mario has whatever this is. Balloon! Ah! Mario gets his wing cap back though as another power up, so that one patches up whatever last one was. There's also this mega mushroom thing that just looks like a regular mushroom. Makes you big. Self-explanatory. The hat power up is actually probably the most unique one in the entire game. It turns any character into Mario, Luigi, or Wario depending on the hat. It even carries over the specific power-ups that I was talking about earlier. That's pretty cool. And all the new character models are updated according to their modern features and look a lot more up to date. It's a lot nicer than the blocky character model Mario had in the original. And let's not forget the minigames. The minigames are probably the best addition to this game because I spent just as much time playing the minigames as I did the main game itself. Like, come on, how can you look at this and say no? Like, come on, they're all so fun and creative and they're so well thought out. Like, Nintendo probably could have released this as its own game and it would still sell super well. Right, Nintendo? Pretty good idea, right? Don't worry about royalties, I'll take just straight cash. Overall though, the Nintendo DS destroys the 64 by taking all the original content and piling even more on it, with all of it being positive. Number 3. Visuals. The visuals of a game aren't just there to look pretty and show it off, but it's also essential for a game to have good graphics to keep it playable. And by good graphics, I don't mean, oh, amazing textures that are high resolution and the game's at 4K. No, by good graphics, I just mean everything can stand out in its own way. Mario 64 is actually a perfect example of this. It might be a game from the 90s and might not have the best textures and the best shapes and stuff like that, and actually is very simple in its modeling, but it's still extremely playable even to this day. DS in comparison... Mom, pick me up, I'm scared. Do you really want your best friends to be squares? The game has new character models and, you know, that's nice, but remember how I said that it's not about the polished look, it's more about how it works? The resolution of the DS screens makes so much noise that it's hard to tell what's going on sometimes, and combine that with the slippery controls and you got disaster. Overall, the graphics in the 64 just work so much better, and that's why it wins this round. Number 4. Replayability. Is this a game I would enjoy playing again, or would I rather be doing anything else, like dying? Based on everything else, like the controls, the content, and even the graphics, You'd think with all the content, I'd want to go back to Mario DS mode, right? Wrong! Screw Mario DS! The gameplay of the DS version is so bad to me that it's just not worth playing it for the extra content. I'd rather just go and play the original Mario 64. If a game you're playing is making you want to play another game, that's where it fails already. It's not the game itself that's super bad, it's more of the platform it's on. This game should never have gone to a DS. This should have been remastered for something way different, like maybe the Wii or the Wii U. If you think about it though, it's still really cool that it's here. I mean, back when it was first announced, this wasn't really a big problem because it's Super Mario 64 portably. Like, that was super big to accomplish back then, and honestly, for what it is, it's a very cool accomplishment that just did not age very well. That being said, the very obvious winner is the Nintendo 64. In conclusion, these things should never have come together at all. Like Nintendo, I really respect the hustle, but sometimes just things don't come out well. Mario 64 DS is one of those games that felt amazing as a kid, but once you grow up, all that magic is gone and it just sucks. Probably would have worked better on this thing. And you know what? Having favorites isn't a bad thing because at the end, having favorites... Would you shut up? Now I don't have a favorite.